Yeah,
Yeah. Welcome to episode 8 of the Wildcat Fanalytics. It's Jesse and Mike.
we back.
We back. We've got some fun stuff to get into after the Bay Area trip and just some housekeeping. You'll notice that I continue to be scruffy and will continue
Yeah.
to be scruffy until the Cats complete a sweep of some kind. I did
Okay,
go
so
out.
home sweep
Yeah.
stand
Home
accounts.
sweep counts for the beard,
Okay.
road sweep only for the community
Yeah,
cleanup, but
yeah,
I will
yeah.
say I went out on Saturday and I did do a little bit of cleanup, and that was presumptuous, but still satisfying.
I love that. And again, as a reminder to everybody, that was a small bet that you made on the Wildcat Authority board that if the Cats completed a road sweep, that you would go out and road sweep yourself, clean up your neighborhood. As a nod to you of how difficult you thought it would be to accomplish road sweeps in the Pac-12. A lot of people saying Pac-12 is down this year. I'm raising my hand on that. Gotta tip my hat to you that you were right out of the gate that just because they're down, that doesn't mean they're not. It's not difficult.
That's it. It's not that I don't agree. I definitely,
Yeah,
the Pac-12 is always a disappointment, and this year is no different. But what I'm saying is that's seemingly irrelevant almost every year when it comes to,
yeah,
like that kind of performance, and Stanford proved that. So we're going to try starting with a new concept called the bear down moment, which is to emphasize something Mike and I want to highlight about the weekend performance. So we've got Cal, Stanford. I just sprung this on you. So do you want me to start?
yeah. Please start so I
Okay.
can come up with something.
Well, I gotta give Caleb Love
Yeah,
some love, because the reason why I'm so critical of him is that he is one of those generational type guys, in
yeah.
terms of his mentality is unbelievable. I don't know that I've seen that many athletes in any sport who have the ability to play through like disastrous failure
Mm,
and really not attached to it.
yeah.
Casey Jacobson said it really well against FAU. Like, this guy could get on a heater mentally off of a pass or one make, and he thinks he's on
That's
fire.
so
And
good.
it's his maturity is to basically like channel that type of energy more productively for the team. But it's totally like he showed up this weekend against Cal and Stanford the way I expect their team to show up. And it's very like I feel really frustrated for him, because he's coming in and
Yeah,
out Gumbying the
yeah,
Arizonas, and hopefully that ends up, you know, be having a leadership impact. But Caleb Love, his shot selection against Cal was better. His efficiency was lights out, and
yep.
even though he jacked up a few of those contested threes against Stanford, I can't
What were you
criticize
gonna do?
because he was,
Somebody,
yeah, somebody had to show up, and
yeah.
he basically, aside from those shots, he attacked beautifully, and that's where I think he's the most deadly, is
Hmm.
facilitating and attacking the rim,
Yeah,
his
off the
his
dribble.
off the dribble, and they couldn't guard him. So that, and my other highlight was Philly B and Pauly getting productive first half minutes.
Yeah.
Not because they necessarily impacted the game that much, though I think they both did, but because I think an investment, you know, if Lloyd can invest in those guys' development, it changes the diversity of options, but also
Hmm.
it gives the program much more clout when you're recruiting to be able to
Yeah.
say, look, like, if you earn a chance, you will get it. This is a competitive roster,
Right.
but we like mixing in guys. And when you shrink that, that rotation to seven with a little bit of an eight, it's pretty tough. And so
Yeah.
I loved that Philly and Polly both did positive things in their time. That was exciting. So those are my moments.
Yeah, I'm a big Philly guy. I'm really disappointed he didn't get any burn in
Mhm.
Stanford. I thought, if the starters aren't going to give you as much as they should be at Stanford, like let's just try something. And so it would have been. I know that we did play some Poly, and he was really productive offensively. And so don't know kind of why we didn't see more of him. It was interesting. I think we played him at the five at one point,
Yeah.
in
He was
sort of a
trying all sorts of things. Yeah.
yeah, and sort of a five out offense. And then Philly didn't get any burn at all in Stanford, which is a bummer after his productive minutes at Cal. But looking forward to seeing those guys in the court. My bear down moment would be for the additional, European that we're hoping for a lot out of. Mo Krivas had a massive game at Cal, and hey, it's Cal. I still think Cal is a really quality roster, but we took it to them. Krivas, though, career high, 18 points, 5 rebounds, picked up a bunch of fouls in his, 18, 20 minutes. But, I had asked in our previous talk, hey, can we get, double digit points out of anybody on the bench? We're talking KJ, Jaden Bradley, and who I think the world of both of those guys, but haven't seen the points productivity we've been asking for. And then Krivas. And so Krivas stepping up, dropping 18 is massive. I hope he carries that forward. Obviously, he wasn't that productive. I think he only had 4 points in 11 minutes at Stanford. But again, only giving him 11 minutes when he was super productive. He was 2 for 2. I don't love that. I'm not Tommy. I'm not a head coach of the NCAA program, but I would have liked to have seen those opportunities spread out a little bit more.
Yeah, right on. Well, let's talk about Kylan Boswell, and to alert the folks who are listening, we are not going to rehash, all the speculative complaining about Kylan, though, we both have our grievances, and to Mike's credit, if you've been watching this show, Mike brought this up against Wisconsin that he was worried about Kylan. So we're going to sort of like break this down in a way that hopes to offer some perspective and also an understanding of what actually may be happening to the degree that you and I can understand it with the ball screen coverage. Yeah. So where do you
it speaks to the pain that like people that have been watching Arizona basketball have been feeling just about. So Stanford game, obviously really embarrassing, very difficult game to watch. You can point at Boswell as like a whipping boy. Maybe some other recent struggles. FAU second half of Cal that felt like the game was already in hand, and so I don't mind giving up a bunch of points in the second half there. But Boswell's been circled. I've had a highlighter on him, and what we'd like to just do here is just look at our ball screen coverage in the FAU game, because I thought FAU is a high level opponent. We were up for that game. I felt like up enough, and they just exploited us. And so I thought that was a really good example, maybe less fluky than Stanford just going completely nuclear. So what I ended up doing, I went into that FAU game watching the highlights of FAU's points produced, their buckets made, and I just went in open mind. I just want to see those again, and just, hey, how did it happen? And what I ended up seeing is everybody on the perimeter, and I mean everybody, gave up buckets in a very similar fashion. And that the bigs are, we're talking Krivas, we're talking Balo, and we're talking Johnson. Each of them was unable to be all that productive defending. And it seems like a lot of it is because of Tommy's choice of playing, a pretty deep drop coverage on ball screen pick and roll action. That is something that has been successful for us in the past. It's also something that's gotten us burned in the past. When teams are able to actually hit those shots. A reminder of why a team would do that. It does force long twos. Those long twos can become threes if it's a high pick and roll. If they set that screen higher above the 3-point line, they can a ball handler can dribble into a three, which is obviously a really good shot for a lot of guys. But it does force jump shots. It keeps guys away from the rim. Force you shooting off the dribble. So a lot of that is preferable, but we got embarrassed by it, and we've gotten hurt by it a lot. So if you can tee it up, let's just take a look.
So what I'll do is tee up the video part, but so I don't have to go back and forth between the pages, can you just call out the timestamps and I'll just move it?
28 seconds in.
28 seconds. Wow, didn't take long.
It didn't take long. Their first bucket of the game, and an often message board whipping boy Pella gets burned here. And to tell you who he's guarding, he's guarding Elijah Martin. He's a two-time all-conference player. He's 6'2". Pella, I think he's a plus defender. I think he's a good defender, but kind of difficult to expect him to stick with a guy who's 6'2". And then what we give up and here he is chasing the screen, and it's just a wide open three. And so look where Ballo is. Look how
Right.
deep Ballo is.
Right.
Ballo is not involved in this defense, right? I
Right.
mean, he's just not. He is not defending this shot in any fashion. He's not attempting to. He's not even in a defensive stance to threaten it. And Pella, who is attempting to do what you're supposed to do, he's attempting to get around that screen, get skinny and stay connected. But again, Elijah Martin, 6'2", 38% 3-point shooter. He shot 38% against us in this game.
The,
We're
yeah.
giving him that shot.
The thing that I confuses me about the drop coverage is in that
Yeah.
moment, if you don't get over the screen, which you're really not supposed to, right? With a big,
Right.
like basically in that moment where he's releasing that shot, we'll go
Mm-hmm.
back. There's two guys that are uncovered because
Yeah.
Balo's choosing not to take the guard or the big, right? And so
Right.
the big is not a factor in terms of
No.
being a scoring threat, but you basically are guarding them with 3-on-4.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I don't quite understand is like how there how there's not a possible way to hedge or get out of that guy. But maybe that's what you're gonna take us through. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is the thrust of my question here is
Yeah.
if Ballo is not going to be engaged in defending the play, like what's the point of playing the drop? And some counters to if you play just to give folks a higher level view, if that deep drop, that's where Ballo is sitting back away from that screen into the paint like he is here. That's a very deep drop that he's playing, meaning he's very far away from the level of the screen. He could play. He could play a weaker, drop where he's a softer, a soft hedge where
Mm.
he's maybe a step or two. Maybe he's at like if the free throw line ish. He's a step behind the level of the screen, or even just one step forward. You can see the hashes along that free throw line, right? If you took one hash
Yeah.
up, he'd be a little bit more in that play. And then what risk are we running? Really, I guess maybe getting back cut and he's
Defensive,
not there.
yeah, defensive rebounding. But
But
Keyshawn's
but
in
he's
position to
yeah,
help. Yeah.
totally, and we have a line of guys right there. So,
Yep.
totally with you that I don't know what benefit we have. Like, what is he doing here?
Okay.
Why is Tommy Havis doing this? Yeah.
Let's keep exploring them. Maybe there's
Okay.
different coverages.
422, is the next one, and again, no sacred cows here. It's just plucking out ball screen defense. This one's going to be Caleb, who has been a fantastic defender for us, realistically, much better than anybody expected, I think. Right.
So Caleb's on the right elbow here, and he's on one of their 17 guards.
Yeah.
Well, here's
Yeah.
initially Boswell's fighting over the first ball screen. Yeah.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
want
And
me to
you'll see
run it?
Boswell.
Mhm.
Yeah, please. And see
So
Boswell.
Boswell.
He's way behind it. And then second screen
Well, so
comes.
here's an answer to my earlier question. Balo is helping so that
Hmm.
12
But
doesn't
but
have a
does
lot.
he doesn't even really tag 12,
Mm.
right? He doesn't get him off his, so he doesn't even touch him.
He's there though. He's there though.
He's there. Yeah. So
Let's run that whole thing through.
yeah, thank you. So
He doesn't
and
really
here's
tag him.
Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so yeah,
yeah.
and it's quick. So Love, it's and you can nitpick, and I do that. Some of these screens are illegal, like that. That's Eiffel Tower legs, like
Yep.
you need to be an H, not an A. But
Oh, I see.
um, it is what it is. Like it's rarely gets called.
Johnson got called for that, didn't he?
Totally,
Yep.
yes, he did.
And he's
And
and even he's like even with that, he's only a tenth of a second late. I mean, he's
totally,
that's a block shot.
it's
That's
it, it
yeah.
that's his totally. He's doing his best to fight through that screen, even though it's a really difficult one because of the positioning. And obviously, that's a good jump shooter, but that's also an open shot. So
It's an open
you
shot.
know,
So you're basically saying like we're going to gamble. And I
yeah,
don't
we're
I
just
don't like it's hard to rest as a fan on a team that's
yeah.
basically saying we're going to gamble with open threes, especially in this era as we get into our bigger conversation, like this era of most teams having at least four guys on the court at any time who can nail them.
Yeah, and especially the consistency of offering that exact same thing over and over again, right? Like,
Right
hey,
here,
we're
like
all we're
Balo's same spot. Balo's in the same
yeah.
spot. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just wanted
No,
to
no,
tee this up one more
please.
time. So Balo's in the
Yeah,
same spot, and I
yeah.
just wanted to offer the people watching, what would the alternative coverage be here?
Yeah, so if Ballo, you see how deep he is, how many hashes of the
Yeah,
free throw line back he is.
there's
If he
three
just play,
hashes.
if
Yeah.
yeah, if he played a hash up, or if he played closer towards that free throw line. He doesn't have to be, if he a full hard hedge would be playing at the level of the screen. So
Right.
at, that defender's right hip, and then really just getting a hand into the
Yep.
face of the defender, I'm sorry, of the ball handler in order to force him out of that play and make him back up or send him towards the sideline where you could, try to ice it a bit. Instead, we play
The Tarzuski coverage.
that would be the hardest hedge where you're really forcing him
She's
out,
out the
right?
half
Yeah,
court.
totally. Yeah, and then you're sprinting back, which
Then you're
you just didn't get
sprinting
enough.
back. Because
You just
what
didn't
he
get enough love for that.
is, if I'm a beginner, basketball person, I'm trying to understand this. What you give up in the hedge is that the roller, then in this case,
100%.
Golden
Free lane.
is a free lane, and it's up to
Yeah,
Love to then switch, and that's
100%.
so
There's
you're
a lot
playing with
of,
fire.
and there's,
It's 2 point gambling versus 3 point gambling. Yeah, which is
yeah,
I'm sure
you're
that the mindset. Sorry, yeah,
totally, no, you're absolutely right. You instead of giving up a look at the rim, you're hoping, hey, they're going to be bad jump shooters, which is a dangerous gamble. And again, my particular complaint is probably just that we just keep offering them the same thing over and over again, and so it's pretty easy to get into a rhythm of, well, they're not going to be near me when I come off this screen.
exactly.
I'm going to take a dribble. I'm going to get to my spot, and you're going to see that exactly take place. So 454. Well, let's get
I
454.
just want to say one quick thing. Just I'm trying
Yeah,
to be objective. So I know Tommy is like a scientist of the analytics of this. He knows
totally,
there's nothing I can question that he can't answer. So
totally.
here is Umar doing a great job of tagging Golden on the rebound. So if this is a miss, we're in great position right here for a defensive rebound. And I
Yeah,
think that's he's playing the percentages, right? I mean, most
yeah,
teams don't shoot 40% from three, let alone 64 in a game. And so he's saying, I'll
yeah,
give up a few of those, but I'm going to dominate the glass, and the math is going to work out over time.
yeah.
That's the rationale. I'm not saying it's right, but that's the rationale. Yeah.
Totally true. And it's not like, John L. Davis, he didn't actually shoot well from three in this game. What he did is
Right.
he hit one, I think. He sliced us up from that mid range, but that's
Long
what it
twos.
gives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives a completely open mid range, and we do it too.
Yep.
Like Kylan
Yep.
Boswell loves that shot coming off the screen and seeing a drop. Jaden Bradley, that's one of his favorite shots among jump shots that he actually likes taking. So, it's something that it is a useful defensive coverage, and it does force guys into taking long twos, which sometimes you like. But again, I don't want to see guys get into rhythm when you're just offering them the same coverage over
Well,
and over again.
that's the big point. And so from a psychological standpoint, so much of shooting is feeling comfortable in your body.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
think there has to be a factor in there of in the beginning of the season, we were so excited because it looked like our defensive coverages were actually
hmm
affecting the comfort of the other team.
yeah,
It didn't even matter. Sometimes they could get a little open window, but you jarred them on their heels enough that that was all it took to shake their rhythm. But these teams since Purdue have looked like they have been salivating to step up to the
yeah,
line because they know that there's nothing to be afraid of. And I think that
yeah,
that's, again, the tactics are beyond me. Tommy will have
totally.
that figured out, but I think that maybe is a factor beyond the shooting metrics that needs to be considered. Um,
100%. And I
yeah,
want to speak to how that impacts us as shooters, as offensive players. Instead of getting those stops or getting guys, getting a rebound and getting out in transition, feeling good, you got to stop. Like, hey, you're like, these guys aren't draining it every time they come down the floor. And so that probably translates into how your offensive, sets roll out, that you're able to get out in transition, and it probably translates into your own feel because you're feeling strong.
that's like what we were saying a few weeks ago. The very best defense when you play Arizona is to make shots because
Totally.
it turns the whole
The
tide,
whole
and
thing gets turned off.
it flips the whole script. And
Yeah,
that's the freaking like anxiety provoking element of being an Arizona fan is like you get the thing rolling in your direction and you look unstoppable, but the kryptonite is basically hit a couple long twos and a couple threes, and all of a sudden you're in a possession by possession type march. And
totally.
we're very good. We're still elite, but
Yeah,
we're not pulling away. And then as things tighten, that little chess match can put you at risk for, we should have, as we talked about last time, there were 100 plays we could have made that would have
yeah,
not put Fuller and Atlantic in the position to win. But against Stanford, we didn't even have a chance because it was just
Yeah.
super sized snowball. So you said you wanted to skip this one. Do you still want to do
Yeah,
it?
let's go 655. Let's jump all the way to 655. Um, and this is Bradley and Johnson. This is if you were going to pick two defenders on the team to be like, hey, like who could I put
Yep.
into a ball screen,
Mhm.
coverage and feel really confident about? It's LeBron
JB.
James. It's no, it's
It's
JB
JB. Yeah.
and Keyshawn.
Yes.
And so here's JB doing his best to get skinny again. He's fighting over what is an illegal screen, but it is what it is.
Mm.
Um, and that is tough. It's not an easy shot, but this is when we're part of my point here is that when we're picking on guys and saying like Pella is a crappy defender or Boswell has been playing crappy defense, everybody is getting exposed because these guys got into a rhythm. John L. Davis got into a rhythm of just, hey, I'm gonna get, well, there's my
Well,
spot.
and here's the line with Boswell, Johnson, and Pella, and Keyshawn's first movement is
Right.
to step back.
Step back. Yeah.
Like as a shooter, there's nothing more inviting than just feeling that relaxation of like, oh, I can step into this. And
Ah,
yeah, and these guys and they're good. That's an easy shot at this point, for most
yeah.
of these
You
guys.
you've hit 10 of them already.
Yeah, 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 totally.
Like why not? Why not go for 11?
And I
And
don't I don't personally see why Keyshawn, again, I'm going to sound like an ignorant fan. All due
sure.
respect to Tommy. Help me play devil's advocate. What's the
Right.
risk of Keyshawn jab stepping at this guy just to give Jaden that tenth of a second he needs and then dropping so that Golden doesn't roll?
Yeah. I mean, the risk is that Keyshawn doesn't have the foot speed in order to flip his and the hip speed to flip his hips to get with Jade with to get with Golden as he's
Golden.
coming back down the
But he
lane.
but he's got eight
But he
feet on him.
does.
Yes, look at
And
that.
he does have the time.
He's got the time in that case, I
Yeah,
think. I don't know. Mm.
and additionally, it's not like Golden was eating us up, right? And so this is something I texted you that I
Mm.
said, this has been really frustrating me, and I'm mad, and I was legitimately mad that it's not like we're getting eaten alive outside of Edie from bigs, and we really did contain Edie as far as you
Great
can.
job. Yeah.
Yeah, forced him, I think Jason Shear said into like one of his least efficient games, even though it was 25 points. It was a tough 25 points for him to get.
He never
Golden
he
had,
never got behind the defense. He never it was
yeah,
everything was over the top. Like that was a clinic
100%.
on how to defend Edie. Unfortunately, that the cost was what it was.
Yeah, but you zoom out and you go, okay, well, look at everybody else that we played. It's not like Golden was lighting us up. The guy had 3 field goals in the game.
Yeah.
And so why are you respecting him so much more than like is he gonna catch that pocket pass and like jam it to the rim? He's not LeBron, like what
I
do we
wonder, and even if he does, I wonder if this is a moment of self-reflection for Tommy. He has a brilliant obsession with 2-point field goals, and he's designed the offense to maximize that, and he's great
mm-hmm.
at it.
Yep.
We've been elite for all 3 seasons on 2-point field goal volume,
Mm.
paint scoring, efficiency.
Yep.
But is he a little over obsessed with stopping it? And
Yeah, I wonder exactly that.
I get the odds, right? I get the odds, and it makes sense what he's doing. I think maybe we need to stop. Maybe we need to try something. Okay, let's get to the next one. What do you got?
Okay. And then so right, keep it going.
Keep it going
It's
right into the next one.
yeah, it literally right in the next one, and it's our next favorite defender. It's KJ Lewis. Here it
Oh,
is.
yep. So they put
It's
Lewis
KJ and
on
it's Johnson.
Davis, and this should
Yeah,
be the best ball screen defense the country can offer.
100%. What
And
else are you asking for here? And
yes,
Johnson isn't playing that deep here, right? Like
he's
he's
up
like
now. Yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
yeah he's higher to the ball screen, so I like this.
I like this.
But what does he do out of this? And let's let it
He
run.
backs up
He
again.
just back. Yeah,
So
he's just playing.
the other, sorry, Mike.
No, he's just playing a drop, and
It seems like a
I need our
waste.
bigs to engage. It does seem like a waste.
It seems like a waste of an elite defender to just put him there in space and have him back off a shooter without doing something. I'm not. I understand he can't rush the guy, but like it seems like there's room to grow there.
So and let's and allow me 2 more clips and let's
Yep.
look at a couple of ways that we could. And so let's go 8-4-6. And so this is and then we'll go back into time earlier. So this is a soft hedge from Balo. And it is fairly successful, even though there's a bucket that comes out of
Oh,
it. So
okay,
here's
okay.
Balo again playing even higher than we just saw. And there he is. There, that's it.
Oh,
That
nice. That was
that little nuance.
is an
And look,
impossible shot. That was
yeah,
great defense. You take that
and great
every
defense.
time. Yeah.
And that's Johnson fighting through a screen. And so
Yes. I
if
love
that
that.
was Love, fighting through a screen, maybe he does get there in time, and it completely walls a guy off, and that's an actual stop.
So here
So
he is. He's gone from the third hash to basically like he's below the
huge
3 point line.
difference.
Yeah.
Huge difference. And he's still not at the level of the screen, right? So this isn't a full show. This would be, a weak hedge. But that's all I'm asking, because we're not asking him to sprint back and do all these crazy things. Just give me some stop the ball handler a bit with his size, and look at him. He's got his right arm low so to stop a bounce pass. He's got his left arm high in order to stop a shot attempt. Just gets enough timing, and these are just beats, right?
No,
That the difference between a
yep.
rhythm shot and
Yes.
a guy thinking about what do I need to be doing.
Totally. It actually doesn't take much. Now, I want to watch this time through. I want to see how we cover Golden, because that's the whole thing is we're trying
It's
to
a great question.
eliminate, right? So let's see how he drops back, because I thought Keshad, the kid hit a 13-footer, but he walled him up as well as you can.
Totally.
Let's see what Balo does here to get back. And he's there in plenty of time. He's even in
Plenty of time.
rebounding position, although he was a little sort of like soft-footed
He
there.
was
But
very soft on the rebound. He just sort of
he's
conceded that
just,
that was going to be a bucket.
come on,
But
man. We need athletes.
um, and then let's go back to 319, last one.
319.
Yep.
Right.
So this is going to be Krivas actually playing a soft hedge, and I really like Krivas playing a soft
Yes,
hedge.
yes. He's got
He
so much
he's
length and he's got quick feet.
he's
Yeah.
so long and he has such
Mm.
quick feet. Yeah. So 319, he plays a soft hedge.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Kylan almost has time to recover. And again, it's a bucket because we're only going to see buckets in the highlights. But that's a really difficult shot, same as the last one. And it causes guys to have to, that's a really long two. That's tough.
And even
But
even if you jab in a way where he's got to pick up the ball
yeah,
and you're scrambling back to the bounce pass, at least like you should be able to wall up that guy on the block. And I get it. We're playing the percentages. And just to be
yeah,
fair, I don't know if you agree with Ty Lue, but it seems like the economics of it are screaming loudly all throughout basketball that the ball screen offense is the most deadly and efficient offense there on the planet because everybody's
yeah,
doing it. So
yeah,
we gotta have that in there that this isn't it's an impossible if you have
100%.
proficient guards, it's impossible to not give up something.
You're giving up something.
But
But
I like these little samples. I think he could have even
and
hedged a little harder on that.
100%.
Yeah.
And to finish off what Ty Lue said, and I'll drop the link to that from Twitter that I shot you the other night. He said what they do that makes the Clippers so good as a ball screen defense, as a pick and roll defense, is that they just mix it up so much. He's like, you will give up something to the opposing players. These are shot creators, these are professionals, similar in the NCAA's, but you have to make them think. You have to keep them guessing. You have to keep them on their toes. You have to show them different looks. That doesn't mean that we're going to do 5 different kinds of coverage, but if we could continue to mix in, especially as we mix in personnel, but even if it's Balo, can he play up? Can he show a little bit and then come back? I just maybe even straight out of the gate, especially so that these guys,
Yes.
so that you
Don't
see
let him get
Stan.
comfortable. Yeah.
Totally. You see in Stanford, they roll out to this early lead, and somebody sent the breakdown of how that went down. I think the Athletic did a little breakdown, and they're just like they knew our drop coverage, and they just abused it by hey, if you guys are going to give us this, we're going to take that. And so if we come out with something a little bit different from the get go, and then drop back into our drop
Right.
coverage, just don't let them get comfy.
And their gamble on their end is what happened to Alabama is like
Right. You
if
got to
you
make
come out
shots.
you say like hey we're going all in, we're going to take what they give us, and if they miss, they're getting blown out. Stanford gets blown
Mm-hmm.
out because those are long rebounds that end up in
Yep.
transition, and all of a sudden they're down 20-6 to start the game
Totally.
because they're 0 for 8. So it is all or nothing. And I appreciate that strategy of putting an offensive team to an all or nothing decision. But my curiosity about it is if you let somebody get so comfortable,
Yeah.
and Stanford looked like they were taking they knew the shot was going in before. It was like it was like Wisconsin in the Elite Eight. It's like they knew it before
100%.
it was out of their hands. And
Yeah.
cannot let college level shooters get that comfortable. It's an easy shot for so many youngsters these days. I just used the word youngster. That shows you that shows
Whippersnappers is what
that
you.
shows you I'm almost 50. Those whippersnappers are really shooting the hell out of the ball. So
Yeah.
um okay, awesome
So
presentation. Yeah.
so all of that. I do want to, and I want to swing back because I owe a touch of an apology to Kylan Boswell, and he's gotten a ton of
Mm.
junk on the boards and probably in some media saying, like he's lost his touch and to some degree, he has been underperforming. But it's not like he's a bad defender. Everybody on our defense, every perimeter player got hit with that same issue because the drop coverage and the way that we fight over ball screens and in order to chase, that's the nature. That's what you give up. And
Yep.
so, shout out to Kylan. You're still a great player. I know you are. I know Tommy is going to make some adjustments to make sure that he looks, back to being a little bit better than what we've seen recently.
Yeah, and so I threw together this ridiculous graph
I love
for
it. Good color choice. Where did that come from?
yeah, I tried. So, so I wanted to get some perspective, and this is crude offensive statistics, and a lot of what we're talking about with Kylan is we'll get to in a second. But I just wanted some basic comparison. So here's a graph. If you're listening in your car, come back to this point. There's a graph here showing and comparing Boswell to two former 4-year Arizona Wildcat point guards who are yeah, who will be unnamed. We're going to play a little
Was
game
this
here.
was this their 4 year average or was this
No, I'll tell you, and then you can guess.
okay?
Mike's
Okay.
gonna guess, but he already knows. So you can
I don't know.
guess
I
it.
don't
You
pay a
can,
lot of attention.
but if you're watching on the screen, guess who I'm comparing. So Boswell's in blue, and then we have player A in red and player B in white. And you'll see the statistics are comparable, if not favorable, for Kylan. He's actually averaging player A and player B. These are data from their sophomore seasons, which again,
Mm,
just to annoy people and harp on Kylan's age, again, he would be young for a freshman. He would be, as an April birthday, I would guarantee he's probably younger than 75 or 80% of current college freshmen, which matters from a developmental standpoint in terms of brain development. Although you could argue that he's probably had a lot more experience in development than these players in the 90s.
right.
Anyway, that's the last thing I'll say. But these are all sophomore statistics. So you've got points per game, they're all pretty much even. Field goal percentage, they're all pretty much even. Kylan is pretty much at or near the top of all these categories. 3-point percentage, he's even in the lowest of the low where he is shooting better from three. And keep in mind, these players played in a 19-9 3-point line. Free throw percentage, he is outpacing both of these players, and his assist to turnover is right there. So again, this is not nearly the whole picture. No statistical breakdown can fully
Right.
evaluate any human. And I would say, to be fair, I think what I notice about Kylan that gives me pause is that he looks like he's going through self-doubt.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's what people are picking up on, not necessarily
For sure.
the numbers. So who do you think these players are? Well, I told you, but
I
which one's
I
A and which
honestly
one's B? Okay,
I honestly don't remember who
good.
B. I don't remember who A is. I've guessed correctly at B.
Okay,
I believe.
tell me who give the colors so people who are watching.
So the white, and this is Kylan boswell is blue. White,
Mm-hmm.
Damon Stoudemire.
Yep.
Yeah, that's Damon.
Yep.
And so if you love Damon Stoudemire and you hate Kylan Boswell right now, maybe reassess. Obviously, this mixes in a half of a season so far in a short season, obviously, but a half a season so far of really good play from Kylan and then half a season. So kind of leveling out, but on the whole, giving you what Damon gave us as a
And,
sophomore, maybe a little bit more actually.
well, this doesn't tell a whole Damon and Jason. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was my next guess.
Red is Jason Gardner.
I was gonna
Uh,
guess Miles, and I was like, no, I think Miles was
point
was a
both diminutive point guards. And I think where these two outpace Kylan at this point is their foul rate was much higher. They could get to the line.
Mm,
So you look at free throw percentage is really irrelevant compared to foul rate with these three players because Damon was
yeah.
not. And I think when you watch Gardner and you watch Stoudemire, they were not afraid. They were in the
Yeah.
lane.
No,
Damon
it's
had
great.
that. They both had that little free throw line pull up.
Yeah.
But anyway, just for a basic perspective on, is the sky falling? Not at
Right.
all. This kid could continue to plummet into more deeper and deeper circles of hell. But the if history
Taking
is
the Wildcat fan base with
if
him.
the fan base is right, but most athletes come through it. Every athlete
Yeah.
comes to this point where they are faced with the honeymoon is over, and this kid is going
People have
through that right now.
people have
Yeah.
seen your tape. People know your game. You know what I mean? Somebody else on the board, Wildcat Authority, always shout out Wildcat Authority. They said something similar where it's like, look, like the mystique or like the mystery is kind of the mystery of your game or how you're going to go about your business is sort of gone. People know how to beat us at this point, and so um, you have to be able to take that punch and learn what your counter punch is. And Kylan's probably going through that.
He's going through that, and yeah, I mean, our worst fears could come true. He could quit basketball, and I mean, whatever your fear is going on, like sure, it could happen. I'm not saying it won't,
Yeah.
but actually, more times than not, these sophomores, they come through that sort of moment better. And
Yeah.
actually, that was Gardner's, in some ways his worst year. And
Yeah.
Stoudemire, I think that was his worst 3-point shooting percentage was his sophomore year, and then he comes in his senior year and he's
I
a house of fire. I think he shot 45% from three. And he's high volume, and that
yeah.
team didn't have a ton of help. But I just want to make this point that um, my point to you earlier was as a fan, I'm noticing I'm impacted by the neuroses of everything being so fast and compressed today in
Hmm.
basketball, where kids are 16 and they're trying to plot out their next 3 years. And it's like,
Yeah.
how quickly can I get to the league? How quickly can I get my NIL and get out of here? And so I
Yeah.
think I, as a fan, am feeling so much pressure that this kid has to be perfect now. Whereas if we were in 1992 and it was Damon Stoudemire, you'd be like, oh, he's only a sophomore. He's going to be here 2 more years, and guess what? His senior year, he's going to be lights out, and his junior year, he's
Yeah.
going to go to the Final Four, and we don't have that because we feel like this kid's one play away from either quitting the team or being an All American, and there's no in between.
Yeah. That and that puts all of us. I'm sure he's in a really tough headspace because of that. Some of that's self-inflicted, but some of that's just the nature of where we are as a culture, basketball culture. Um, but yeah, it puts us as fans in a tough spot where you end up having rough feelings about a guy who's a year player and a good player.
We love him. We love this kid. Everybody
Yeah.
does.
Yeah. And you reminded me because I remember I looked really briefly to check and see what Miles's stats were. His second year was kind of his worst statistical year as well. And so I wonder, that calls into the question of what as these guys attempt to step up, right? As these guys attempt to step up and become the dog, to become that big guy, there's going to be some growing pains there.
Yeah.
Whereas you increase your volume and you start taking the tougher shots, and it's your responsibility to lead a team or your responsibility to be the winner. Yeah, so I'm sure that he's mentally going through a bit of that. I hope there's nothing physically going wrong. I think there's some speculation. Maybe he has something nagging. Most guys do, as we said before. It's just playing sports.
I mean,
Um,
watching him, if you go back and you watch the first half against Alabama, which was the game right after Purdue, I thought he had an excellent half. He had
yeah,
4 steals. He was quick to
hmm,
anticipate passing lanes. He made a few
yeah.
shots. He made good decisions. Who knows what's going on? We're not going to waste time speculating.
Nope, nope.
I think if it is injury, obviously, like you want to disclose injuries in a way that supports the kid not having pressure. And so, you know, if that moment comes, Tommy will disclose the impact of that so that it relieves the pressure off
Yeah,
of Kylan. And so that moment may come, it may not. But also, as a fan base, you should be rooting for this kid because the best path forward for the team is for this kid to come through this even better, not for him to be benched and then transfer or play
totally.
go to the G League or whatever. We're all in on this kid, and it's really like not that big of a slump. I mean, the,
Right.
like Lillard was 1 for 9 and then 3 for 15 the other night. It's like I think the pressure in these seasons being so short and every loss mattering so much, feeling like a kid's going to be gone if it doesn't go perfectly, or if it does go, he's going to be gone anyway. I think it's just adding a lot of pressure to the fan base. So I just wanted to offer that perspective in case it helps your sanity, Arizona fans. Let's root for this kid. Let's have his back. He could be one weekend away from just like totally turning it around. Not that he needs to go 6 for 9, but just smart decision making. Take what the game gives him. Go out and compete and contribute to winning. And of course, there's nothing that puts pressure on it more than losing.
Yeah, definitely. There's a saying that I have in my head. I assume it's popular, but maybe it's just something I say to myself. But I always say that you got to clap them onto the court and you got to clap them off the court.
Nice, nice.
You have to support them through thick and thin.
Yeah.
It reminds me, I was watching a Liverpool game. I'm a Liverpool soccer fan.
Shout out
Got the
Premier League.
Reds.
Yeah.
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 And Mo Salah is a world-class striker
Mm.
and just absolutely obliterates penalty kicks whenever he takes them. He put in like a really like bad penalty kick that was uncharacteristic of him. And the fans at Anfield, the home stadium, were chanting his name and singing his song after he misses this easy penalty kick in a game that they kind of needed to win. And then he goes on and scores a goal like shortly thereafter. And you can see him smile when they're singing for him. And like that's the attitude, that's the support that these guys deserve. Is that they are going to make mistakes, they are going to have slumps, they are going to fail. They're also going to be the guys that carry you towards a championship, or towards the success that we're all hoping for. So yeah, clap them
Yeah.
on, clap them off.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I like Tommy's mantra that he'll never give up on a kid until that kid gives up. And
Mm-hmm.
as a fan, I mean, you can take any approach you want. I've decided that I like following that mantra as a fan because it simply makes it more enjoyable because I don't have any
Totally.
power to change it. Like I could disagree with what Tommy does, but it's not going to change anything. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna if he believes in Kylan, I'm gonna believe in Kylan. I think my last point is just that to speak to Arizona fans, as I was thinking about Stanford, and I'm like, are we such a ballistic fan base? If you look historically at what this program has gone through and where we sit on the do you have another minute? Do we have another minute?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
I was thinking about this. Tell me if you think this is fair. So we're not at the place as a program or a school where you can really feel settled in the cultural legacy. Like nothing can mess with your legacy because you have this established foundation like a Kentucky,
Totally.
Kansas, Duke, UCLA. No matter what
Yeah.
UCLA does, they've got
They're always going to be able to point back
championships.
and go, "Hey, we
Yeah.
got check
And
out
it's
all those."
and somehow just energetically it feels like it's enough, right? And
Yeah.
Arizona with Loot was like in that rise to knocking on the door of that.
So
And then
close.
and then the way that Loot transitioned out was pretty messy and left some rupture.
I spoke about it breaking my heart.
Yeah.
When we lost that game against Purdue in the tournament, that basically it sounded like nobody watched but me.
You were the
But
only
it
one.
was, yeah, but it was, it was heartbreaking. It was just like, this is the end of an era, and we didn't achieve what we thought we could have. And where are we going to go from here? And it's been choppy since as well.
It's been choppy. He tried to come back, and that sort of messed with the continuity. And then,
Yeah,
and then he finally went out, and then we had that weird transition year, and then Miller comes, and you start to heal, and you have this like three excruciating Elite Eight losses.
yeah.
It wasn't like, well, shoot, we lost by 12 to a really good 1 seed, but we felt good about our effort. It was like three losses that either it could have gone either way, and I felt like the Wisconsin one, we had the goodwill that one should have gone our way, but they of course just played an anomalous game. And so you have those three just almost just painful losses. And then you feel like you're on the cusp. Everyone's like, Sean Miller's the guy. He's the
He's
next
the
guy
next
that's good.
guy.
He's the next guy. He's got a lot of clout. And then boom goes the dynamite. And
Yeah,
you get all the FBI stuff, you get the Trier stuff, you get all this stuff just takes us down. And then the self-imposed,
a
sanction.
ban. Yeah,
And so then you're just like, oh, what are we? We didn't make it. We
no,
didn't launch. And as a
yeah,
program, we've been almost launched for like 20 years, and people are just feeling like it's hard to be in that almost launch position. and then have gone through some of those heartbreaks that we've endured. So I feel like if you're anything like me, you feel an ultra sensitivity to these losses because
Yeah.
they seem to trigger doom because they
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and
Here we go again.
right. It's like, what am I going to click on? Who's going to be hurt, suspended, arrested, whatever. And so now it's like we so badly are ready for this thing to actualize, to crystallize into something really established and proud. And I think it's a testament to Tommy that we see that it's possible. This team and 2 years ago, we saw the potential. Yes, there's chance for error, but it's hard to see that kind of like dissolve it before your eyes and be like,
Yeah.
oh no, not this again. So
Yeah.
message to
Absolutely.
Arizona fans, like you are a traumatized fan base, but breathe and believe.
Yeah. 100%. I Mark Titus, if you know Mark Titus, basketball
Mm,
commentator. Yeah. Don't put me in, coach. He wrote the book about being a bench warmer at Ohio State. He, for some reason, is a big follower and lover of Arizona basketball, which I
mm,
appreciate. And he previously documented back when I think when he was writing for Grantland back, however many years ago, like the actual tournament. He understands. He's been following. He's like, for anybody that doesn't know, like, here's what Arizona has gone through. Like here, like
mhm.
you guys think you know pain. Like here's the ridiculousness of Arizona's like should have had titles, should have had these wins, should have had these, and it's a litany and it's difficult stuff. And I completely agree with you that it's more than cast a shadow. It's really it's set a pall on us where it feels like we can't shake it off. And but it is
Yeah,
game by game, and you just
yeah.
just keep showing up. It's okay. It's fine.
It's just a
You know.
game, and if you keep trying and you get enough goodwill, then good's gonna go your way. And that was the other point I wanted to make. It's not that, totally in the context of understanding that we are, extremely rich program compared to,
Mhm.
350 of the other D1
Yeah.
programs, all in
Yeah.
perspective, but also to say it's almost like the pain of finishing fourth in the Olympics. It's like,
Right.
yeah, you were elite, 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 but you could also
You're not even
taste
on
it.
the podium,
You're the first
like
one not to be on the podium. And
yeah.
like in the NCAA cross country, here's my NCAA trophy
Your
for
championship.
so
Yeah.
we got third
Uh,
my last year there, which is sort of in cross country. You're on the podium if you finish in the top four, and
nice.
we were almost, we used to joke about like it'd almost be better to be 10th than fifth because it's like you might be 2 points away, and in cross country that could be like half an arm's length, and so
Yeah.
um, it's painful. And so Arizona very much feels like a fourth out of third, three medal kind of program. And we're just like dying to get to that next step. And it's hard to taste it and then feel like, the boogeyman's in the closet is going to take it away any second. So Arizona as a
It's
fan base, like let's remember that, like the sky is not falling. It has to go your way if, or it doesn't, but like, let's, I don't know what my encouragement is. I think I'm still trying to figure that out. So if you have something, maybe you can
oh
offer.
yeah, no, you're my deep insight guy.
Move
I think you read it correctly. I think that's a very good point, and I think you can look at a Final Four at is exactly just get me on the podium.
yeah.
Like our ask is, can I get on the podium? Can I be third place? Is just hey, can I lose in a Final Four and be able to just say I hung a Final Four banner? I don't need to go one versus two. I mean, which we'd love to, of course. Let me get all the way to the title game. Let's win it. Let's do it a
But
bunch.
it would
But if for
be,
the love of
yeah,
God, can I get on the podium?
it would be in some ways probably less painful to be a program that doesn't have a lot of resources. That's like, hey, we made the NCAA tournament. It's easier to have
Hey,
gratitude, and it's
yeah,
like,
we got a Sweet 16. Holy
yeah,
cow.
you're like, wow, we made it, and we're Seton Hall,
Oh,
or I mean, Seton Hall has a proud history, but they have no
yeah,
resources,
pick on someone. Pick on someone.
No, if you're like San Diego State, right?
Sure.
San Diego
Yeah, yeah.
State's a good example. Like their fan base is not going to be devastated when they lose at Colorado State or when they go out in the second round. They're like, hey, we got to the NCAA tournament. We made it. We won it. That could
Good
change
show.
after last year. But
Yeah.
um, so we are Arizona and we sort of like think that we're North Carolina or UCLA or Kansas or Duke, but we're actually not. And
Hmm.
we actually have the template to get there, but we haven't pushed through. And in fact, not only have we not pushed through, but we've like suffered pain in the most excruciating. We seem to yeah, be masochistic in our way of torturing our fan base with all the worst type of pain. But
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna keep the faith that something good's gonna happen this year, and this is the moment that makes the payoff so much more sweet.
yeah, 100%. And I think the team and people said, "Hey, I thought they needed a wake up call however many weeks
Mm.
ago," or I think all of these losses are useful in preparing this team and sharpening Tommy to what he needs to be doing. And I trust him, like you said earlier. I do really do trust him to figure stuff out. He's just a super sharp student of the game. Obviously, far sharper than you and I at this. And he's got a great group of guys. So still believe in this team, not giving up at all. Yeah, I'm really excited. We got Colorado coming up tomorrow, and it's almost a 10-point spread favoring Arizona. So for every Arizona fan out there who thought this was
I
doom and
don't get
gloom,
that, but yeah,
the rest of the country is still looking at us like, get it together, guys. You're gonna be fine.
yeah, and Vegas usually knows.
Yeah.
Though not Sunday, but yes.
Yeah, it was a
Well,
tighter spread than everybody thought, right? They were like, "Oh
yeah.
my God, I can't believe it's only a 12 or a 13."
Oh, I
And
thought that was pretty fair, actually. I thought it was pretty generous. I thought it would be
oh, you
like an
did,
eight or nine
yeah.
point game. Yeah.
Well, because you had it, you were the one
Stanford,
that had it right.
I knew,
That
I mean, Spencer Jones just like he wakes up and he's like, oh, it's Arizona. Now it's time to play,
yeah,
you know?
I should
So
light them up. Well, yeah,
I will spare us of my soliloquy on mediocre teams that don't play unless it's the marquee game. But to be fair, like this is why I get defensive about excuse making for Arizona. You had Stanford playing at home in front of nobody. There were no
right,
students. There were no, like they had a million excuses to pack it in, and they didn't. So respect your opponent, respect your opportunities in life, and make the most of them. And so hopefully we will be able to do that because these teams are going to come in smelling blood in the water this weekend.
100%. Yeah. All
Anything
right.
else? Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that fairly. I'm sure there's gonna be fresh stuff. Well, if there is, we'll post it on in the forum on Wildcat Authority.
Wildcat
This
Authority,
is
shout out.
yeah. This our conversation is basically an extrapolation of an extension of what we chat about there a lot. So if you want to talk more, anybody else listening out there, you can find us there.
Actually, yeah, Yodafa will be potentially petitioning the board to
Oh yeah,
crowdsource some future information and segments for those of you who might feel bold enough to be involved, either in the
yeah.
background or the foreground. So keep
Jump
an eye
on
out for
camera,
that. Yeah,
give me a break so I can go take care of my newborn.
that's right.
Or just do some legwork and looking at some stuff that we're also looking at and giving your insights. There's a lot of people out there that are really sharp that we respect and would love to rely on y'all.
Hell yeah. Bear down, everyone.